everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to my October wrap-up. I almost said November wrap-up. I am super excited to chat about the books, even though I didn't have like the best reading month in terms of like quality of books and like the reviews that I gave them. I read 25 books in October. That is the most I've read literally all year. That is the most I've read, I think, since last year. And I don't know what it was. I read a lot shorter books. I thought I read a lot shorter books, and I did, but like my page count is up, so I don't know what was up with me. I don't know what it was. I just went through a lot of books. I read, I got some favorites for sure this month. One that definitely blew my mind, I will say, but I'm gonna go ahead and dive into my statistics for you guys. So I will say that I read 14 audiobooks in October. That's a lot. I primarily read audiobooks because I was able to work and listen to a lot of audiobooks, which I usually don't get to do, so a lot of my like work time was also spent listening to an audiobook. So I got through 14 of those, and then I had 11 ebooks. I didn't read any physical books, even though I have most of these books physically. I didn't actually physically read those books just because digital is the way to go for me. Now, a breakdown of star rating. I had 4 5-star reads. One of those was a reread. I had 2 4.5-star reads, 9 4 stars, 3 3.5 stars, 5 3 stars, 1 2.5 star, 1 2 star. And I think I did DNF like 2, maybe 3 books. If you guys watch my weekly vlogs, you guys would have seen the books that I actually did DNF. I don't count those. Like, I don't keep track of those. But I know one was Immortal Dark and another one was, I feel like it was another book at the beginning of the month because I was feeling slightly slumpy at the beginning of the month and I didn't read for a couple days, and then I got out of it and I just like binged a whole bunch of books. So for my page count, I read 9,722 pages, which is about 3,000 more pages than I read in September. Maybe it's because I stayed home, like I didn't travel. I don't know what it was, but like I have so many books to talk about. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. So I do have my reading journal next to me, which is where I put like my reviews and stuff like that. So if you see me looking over, it's because I'm looking at what book I'm talking about. So the first book that I read was The Wildcat by Bella Matthews. This is the second book in this series, and I did enjoy this book. I'm reading this series for my Patreon. I don't know if we're actually going to do a live show because I'm like not enjoying it as much as I thought. Like, I gave this book 4 stars and it was a short, fun time. Like, it's less than, it's 260 pages. So it's very, very short of a book, but it was a fun time. Like, it's a sports romance, it's hockey, he's a single dad, and you see how he meets our female character, but like, it is confusing as someone who's never read a Bella Matthews book because you dive into this series and it opens up like her whole world of like the cousins and the aunts and the uncles and who's married to who and who's parents of who and who's cousins, and this, it's a lot to keep track of, I will say. So the first book I read, I think back in September or August, it was a little confusing. I have a little bit better understanding of it now, but not the best. So I don't know. It's very, I feel conflicted. Like, do I recommend this series? Because I know it can be confusing, but it is a fun, good time. Like, they're short, they're sweet, and they're fun. So that one I gave 4 stars. Now, I did listen to the audiobook of The Crescent Moon Tea Room, and I was super excited about this because this is Stacy Savinsky's like newest release. It came out in September and I was able to get the audiobook, and because it's supposed to be like a debut, like uplifting novel, it's supposed to be super cozy. I don't think cozy is for me. I love feeling cozy, but I don't think the whole like cozy vibe is for me. I was very bored with this book. I gave it 3 stars. I was just very bored. You see, you're following these 3 sisters and they each have things going on. They have to like break this spell of like these people, or they get their whole tea room taken away and it's been in their family, and so it's confusing because they're all triplets, so they all look similar. They all have red hair but different color eyes, and I only knew, like, I only could keep track with one of them based on like what she did and like what her hobbies were. The other 2 I have no idea. Like, it was just very confusing to like stay like engaged in this book, if that makes sense. So yeah, unfortunately this one did not work for me. I just don't know if the cozy thing is for me. I have a feeling it's not for me. Then I was going downhill from there, okay? I read Promise Me Not by Megan Brandy, and I gave this book 2 stars. So if you guys have been around for a while, you guys know that I read Say You Swear this year, gave it 5 stars, loved that book. I had the best time. It was super angsty, just twists and turns of like contemporary romance, and I loved it. So I was super excited for Promise Me Not because it's her newest release. And you actually see these 2 characters in Say You Swear. It's Peyton, who you see that she was pregnant. She got pregnant at a super young age, I think like 17, 18. And her boyfriend, the father of her child, passes away in an accident. So it's like her finding someone else and like that person being the father to her child, which is someone you see in the first book. And I thought it was going to be super angsty. I thought it was going to be super like engaged and I'm going to feel something and feel very emotional, and I did not. Thought this was so boring. It went nowhere. There was no development with the characters. There was no development with the plot. It just like stayed in the same area of like, I know I like him, but I can't be with him. But I like him, but I can't be with him because like my kid's dad is not, like, I need him to have a dad. I need them to have a dad, but I'm like, the dad's dead. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I've read other books better, and I just don't think it needed to be as long as it did because it didn't go anywhere. Like, I like the characters and I like seeing the other characters, but I was just hoping for like something more, but I don't know what it was. So I gave it 2 stars. I don't know. I was very fed up with this book. I was really, really annoyed because I really wanted to like it. This is when my slump kind of started, so I took a break for like a day or two, and then I did a 24-hour reading vlog over on my Patreon where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read some really fun books that I've been wanting to read. Like, I just want to read these books. And I decided to pick up Lights Out by Navessa Allen. So a lot of people have been talking about this book on TikTok, on Instagram, on BookTube. So this I feel like is like the dark romance of the season, if that makes sense. Now, this book came out a little while ago. My audiobook was on Hoopla, so I was able to listen to the audiobook. I had the best time with this book. It was 4.5 stars. I had the best time. It's so interesting because you get to explore this like fantasy of like this masked person who like posts thirst traps on TikTok, which we've all seen those, right? He wants this attention of this female, right? And she's kind of like a huge fan of his, and so he low-key stalks her, but then they have to like turn around and like kill someone, and they're like hiding this body, but he's like this like one person online, but this like golden retriever person on the inside in real life. And I just had the best time with it. Like, I thought the audiobook was fantastically done. I thought the storytelling was amazing. It was just a fun, spicy, good time. And I loved both characters, and I was obsessed with them. So yeah, this one gave a 4.5 star. It wasn't like a perfect 5-star read for me. It wasn't like super emotional, obviously, because it's about a masked person on TikTok, but I had the best time with it. I really enjoyed it. There are some heavier topics that are dived into, so just know that before going in. And then for that same vlog, I read From Salt to Sky by Adrienne Lee. So this was a book that's been on my shelf. I did a prompt, I pulled a prompt that was like a skull on the cover. This has skull on the cover. I gave this 3 stars. It was fine. It was a little all over the place, but I liked it. It was interesting because our female character, I think she goes to Scotland. She's trying to figure out things, and she's like kind of thrown into this mystery, and she's trying to help figure it out with this other guy, and that's who she becomes like romantically involved with. And it was just a story. It didn't like blow my socks off, but it wasn't like horrible. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine. I listened to the audiobook of this and it was good. But yeah, I don't have anything like super positive to say, but I don't have anything like super negative. So it's a 3-star. Now, I was coming out of my reading slump with that. I decided to pick up the Filthy Rich Vampire series. So I read books 1, 2, and 3. So book 1 is Filthy Rich Vampire. Book 2 is Filthy Rich Vampire Second Right. And third book is Filthy Rich Vampire 2 Queens. 3 queens? 3 queens. 3 queens. Sorry. So I read books 1, 2, and 3, listened to the audiobooks. I got them from my library. I had the best time with them. I gave books 1 and 2 4 stars, and books 3 3.5 stars. Now, there is one book left in the series that I have not got to because there's not an audiobook for it. So I don't know. I'm probably going to wait till I, get the audiobook for that one to, like, for the last book to kind of finish out the series. But I liked it. It was everything that I love when I'm feeling slumpy. It's a fated mate. He's a vampire. She is not. Her family's been hiding secrets. He's a billionaire, has all the money, can give her all of these things. They travel together. She gets, all of these gifts and stuff. And I just love it. I love reading about that because I'm not a billionaire, but I love reading about that. So yeah, it was just a fun, good time. I had the best time with that series. So I literally blew through the audiobooks in like 4 days. Now, I did read a gothic fantasy romance, which I actually thought was just a gothic book, but it's actually a gothic fantasy romance. And that was, ooh, I'm probably butchering it, Anathema by Carrie Lake. So I've read Carrie Lake's gothic books previously, and I have enjoyed them. I actually really enjoy like Nocticadia. That was a very good time. Like, that was a 4.5 star read, and this one was also a 4.5 star read. This is her first dip into fantasy. So this is the first time she's really wrote a true fantasy with like the world building and all of that stuff. And I will say, I said this in a reading vlog while I was reading this book, is that I think she did a good job with all the gothic aspects, but at the beginning of the book, like the first 30 or 40% of the book, she's trying to tell the story of our hero and heroine separately because they're in 2 separate worlds. This is one of those things where our female character crosses a veil between like the human world and the like magical world or his world and stuff like that. Even though the magic crosses over, but theoretically it's human and like magic world. And so it was kind of confusing because you're trying to understand the way of both at the same times, and you're going back and forth with the chapters. So that was slightly confusing. But like as a fantasy reader, I think if you've read fantasy romance before, you're not going to be bothered with it. That's just something I want to point out because I know this is like her first step into fantasy, but it is very heavy on the world building. It is it's a very heavy fantasy like based world building romance. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I did like the ending. Technically it ends with like an HEA, kind of. Like a little bit, like they're together, but there's still definitely things that are kind of unanswered about the world. And I think she did a good job opening up the world for more to be written. So I enjoyed it. I had the best time. I read that on my Kindle. And then I picked up another fantasy, which was Slaying the Shadow Prince by Helen Schwartz. So this is kind of a standalone in her Legends of Thesmar series, technically. But I am on book 4. I have to read book 4, which is the last book in the Legends of Thesmar series. And in book 3, we see these characters show up. And I know that they're going to be more prevalent in the 4th book because of how it was introduced. So I wanted to go back and read their story. I don't really know the exact reading order. I don't know if you're supposed to read this first before even diving into the series. I don't know. I read it in between books 3 and 4, and I don't see a problem with that because these characters don't really show up until book 3, like the very end of book 3. I had a really good time. Like all the other books in the Legends of Thesmar series, I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was solid. I thought it was good. I love a strong female character, and that's what this character is, which I knew that from the 3rd book. I like their banter. I like all of the secrets. I like the, you know, hero having to be a little bit vulnerable with her, and I liked it. It was a great time. I listened to the audiobook and I thought the audio was good. So Helen Schwartz has just been a solid fantasy romance author for me. Like all of the books I've read by her, I've given 4 stars, and I've really enjoyed the worlds that she created, the characters she's created, and the story that she's telling. So solid 4-star read for me. And then I read the novella Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. So I've said this before, me and Ali Hazelwood, we don't always vibe. We do not always vibe. Some things I love, some things I hate by her. I actually enjoyed this novella. I gave it 4 stars. I think that if you know anything about the video game world, you're going to enjoy this. I mean, even if you don't, I think you would enjoy it. But my husband plays a lot of video games, so I hear about the dramas and all of this and the different games and stuff like that all the time. So in this case, they're both developers. They go on this retreat together for 2 companies to kind of like merge and mix together and work on this project that's huge. Like one company can't just take it on by themselves, so they kind of have to like cooperate a little bit. So it's kind of like them blending the workers together, like different people together. And you see that our female character is someone who, like, she likes this developer, but he's like so standoffish with her, and it's because of certain things that happened in the past, which I don't want to say. But I liked it because they would talk about like certain games. Like they talked about, I forgot the name, but it's a game, and they're like, oh, it's so buggy, it's so awful, and I mentioned that game, and Brandon's like, oh yeah, it was an awful game. Like it's funny because I can mention that and he knows what I'm talking about. I just had the best time. It was 4 stars. I love the romance. I thought it was cute. I thought it was adorable. It was a novella, and I really enjoyed it. Then I did my reread, and I got my first 5-star of the month, which is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. So I read this and listened to the audiobook, and I annotated this. Now, this is a traditionally published book now. Now, this book I actually read. This is the first book that I read of the year. I gave it 5 stars back in January, and I loved it. So I wanted to read this to see, like, indie versus trad. Not much has changed in the sense of, like, story. You still get the core story. They just took a lot of the filler out. Like, a lot of things that, like, of the characters, you know, training in the woods. I personally like that because I don't mind that stuff, especially when you get to know the characters more. But I think, like, reading this now, I felt like it didn't, like, add anything or take away anything from the story. It was still a solid story. So 5 stars to this one. This was just an annotation, one that I wanted to do. And then I was able to read an arc of From Here to Eternity by A.L. Jackson. So I was sent this paperback art copy, which, oh my god, I love. I love this book. I love Guy on a Bike. I love a tattoo artist. And I just love like a dark, morally gray hero, and that's exactly what this was. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I think 100% it's my fault because when I was physically reading this, I flipped through the back. Like if I'm reading, I flip through, and I saw a major spoiler, which is 100% my fault, okay? 100% my fault. And I saw the spoiler, so it kind of was like anticlimactic when we got there because I was like, oh, I kind of knew it was coming. But I love A.L. Jackson's writing. I think she tells the story so well, and it opens up like this new series, this newfound family, and I think she did it really well. So I'm excited to continue, but I gave this book 4 stars. And then I read my Leave It to the Pros book club pick, which was The Porcelain Maker by Sarah Freethy. So this is a World War II historical fiction then now. So you see our characters now. They're trying to figure out who her dad is, like who he was. He was known as the Porcelain Maker, so then you go back to World War II and you're seeing their story, and it was heartbreaking. It always is heartbreaking. This is her debut book, and I actually think it was written really well. Like, she is a historical fiction author on my radar now. I'm very excited to see what she comes out with next. I'm so glad we picked it. I gave it 4 stars. Christy also gave it 4 stars. We had a really good discussion about this book, and I really liked it. It's like such a small piece of history that was told, but it was so important, especially to these characters, and I loved it. I had the best time. Then I read Broken Beginnings by Cleo Evans, which is a romantic suspense book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. This is spicy. This is spicy good time. If you've read Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder, you're going to love this book. Like, Broken Beginnings is like not similar in the way at all, but it gives me the same vibes. It gave me the same, just like pulled the same emotions out of me. I loved it. It's a hate to love. Like, you see our female character, she comes back to the small town and she sees her bully for the first time after like 10 plus years, and he's like not a bully anymore, and he's like trying to apologize. He's like groveling in his own way, and I loved it. I ate this shit up, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Then I read The Striker by Anna Huang, which I am so happy to get this like special edition that was in the PR boxes. I loved this. This is Anna Huang's newest book. It is a sports romance. It's a soccer romance with the teammate's sister, and she has chronic pain. She was in an accident. She deals with a lot of chronic pain. I loved this. I loved it so much. I think it's a great representation. I think Anna Huang did really good. She opens up this sports romance era, and I'm not mad at it, and I cannot wait to see what she does next, because I give this 5 stars and I loved it. I think my top book of the month is this book, and that is freaking Metal Slinger. Not freaking Metal Slinger. It's just Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. I physically read this book in 2 days, and when I tell you I've never... Someone commented on my weekly vlog saying, I haven't seen you this excited about a book in a very long time. Y'all, I'll link the vlog for you guys where I was flipping the hell out about this book. The twists and turns in this book threw me for such a surprise. I was like, are you joking right now? Like, is this really happening right now? I honestly could not believe it. Literally could not believe it. It's so good. I don't want to say anything about this book. Go into it blind. Just know that it's kind of like rivals. They come from separate kingdoms. Just know that. It was amazing. It was perfect. I love our heroine so much. I love her so much. I want to say more, but I can't. Okay, 5 stars. Go read it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. And she just announced that she signed for the audiobook for this, so that's being produced at the moment, so I'm very excited. I will be re-listening to this. I will be re-listening and annotating that, hands down. Now, I decided to read some, like, cute little witchy books. Witchy's the right word. I read Kiss and Spell by Celeste Martin, and I gave this 3 stars. I thought this was a little too long, but I thought it was adorable. Actually, I lied. I gave it 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars. I thought it was adorable. It was fine. Witchy. She is scorned. She was left at the altar, or broken up before. And then you see our heroine, and then you see our hero. He's a fae prince in this human world, trying to figure things out, and they kind of like match up and get together. It was adorable. I listened to the audiobook. It was cute. I don't really have anything else to say. It was just adorable. And then I read Spookly Yours by Jennifer Chipman because everyone's been talking about it, and this one was also super adorable. Like, I literally was in the middle of reading it, and I went to my husband and I was like, we need to go to an apple orchard. And he's like, it is 80 degrees outside. We're not going to an apple orchard. So where I live, it's still relatively hot. It's November 1st right now. So it hasn't technically hit fall yet. Technically, but it makes me want to do all the cozy and fall things, okay? And I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was cute. It was adorable. It was 3 stars. It's more like novella length. It's like 250 pages. And I had the best time. I love that he was like a little cat. He was cursed, and she needs to help him because she's a witch. She needs to help him break this curse. And she turns out to be like his fated mate. I thought it was adorable. Like, I thought it was cute. I thought it was cute as hell. I do have Wickedly Yours, which is more of like a fantasy-esque, not necessarily like specifically for fall. But you see the characters at the end of this book, and I was very excited to kind of have that on my Kindle for the second book because I really like those characters. I'm very intrigued by their story. I was able to read an arc of Forever Wild by Rebecca Jinchak. Look how pretty this arc edition is. Look how pretty. It's all foiled and stuff like that. Oh my gosh. This book is out on November 7th, so everyone needs to pick this up. It is the 5th and final book in the Wildcat Hockey series. I love Jack and Everly so much. Obviously, we see these two throughout the whole series. There are 2 characters that have been like just everyone wanted their story, and it's here. It's a teammate's little sister, forced proximity, hockey romance. He's the team captain. He's recovering from an injury, and she's kind of there to help him while everyone else is out of town during the off season. And it was great. It was adorable. I love this book. I love Rebecca Jinchak, and everyone needs to go pick up this book when it releases. I read a lot of Kindle Unlimited romances, so I've had a bunch of books on my Kindle Unlimited like downloaded forever. I've never put them on TBRs for the last couple of months, and I said, you know what, screw that, I'm gonna read them. So I picked up False God by C.W. Farnsworth, and I gave this book 4 stars. So this is the 3rd book in her like billionaire series. I read Fake Empire last year, the year before, I can't remember. Loved it. I love billionaires. It's just a go-to trope for me, okay? And this one, you see our female character, she's the daughter of the couple from the first book. So she's obviously powerful and badass in her own way. And she meets Charlie, who is actually a duke from London, or from England, I should say. He just took over the dukedom from his father, and he's basically bankrupt. His father left them bankrupt, which is so interesting because you usually only see that in historical times, like in a historical romance. So it's interesting to see it in like a modern time, and you see that he's trying to like sell off certain things and make deals and stuff like that. And I love this book. I love the chemistry. I love the unrequited love, like right person, wrong time type of a thing. I love this. I ate this book up. I compare it to the first book because that's my favorite. So it's like a 4.5 star, but I loved it. If you guys love billionaire romances, you need to read this series by C.W. Farnsworth. It is literally amazing. And then I kind of went downhill with some of these books. I read The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. I have actually a whole reading vlog over on my Patreon I decided to do for them because they wanted me to do that. This was my first Frida McFadden book. Probably going to be my last because I gave it 2.5 stars. It was stupid. It did make me anxious, but the whole book was stupid. The ending was stupid. The twist and turns was stupid at the end, and it broke the book for me. I did not like it, so 2 stars. Yeah, 2 stars. Then I read Shattered Dreams by Natasha Madison. This is the first book in a new series by her, and I gave this like 3.5 stars. I struggle with books like this because I've read so many books where like you see at the beginning, the prologue, there's like 3 couples, 6 people, they're in a car together, there's an accident, and you see that like two of them died. Our hero, his girlfriend at the time passed away, and our heroine, her boyfriend passes away. So you see that like, you know, she goes away for 10 years and now she comes back to the small town, and he's like, I hate you, you're the reason why this accident happened, like you're the reason why my girlfriend died, blah 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 blah. So it's a very much hate, and then I feel like it's switched to love without any warning, without any, like, it didn't make sense to me, and I didn't particularly like that. But I did like the angst. I like the talks of like certain things after that. I just felt like that switch kind of came out of nowhere. It was before they even had like an emotional connection. So I was very confused by that story. So I go back and forth. I'm like, is this a me thing or is it the way it was written? I can't really tell. So I landed at a 3 star. that was my compromise. And then I finished out the Magnolia Falls series. I read Finding Hayes by Laura Pavlov, and I gave this book 3.5 stars. I have my 2 favorites. That is Loving Romeo and Beating Heart. Those 2 are my favorites in the series. This is an amazing found family series. Like, I am attached to these characters hardcore. But I will say that Marriage of Convenience in this one, like in certain contemporary romances, it's not my favorite thing to read, and that's what this book is based around. You see that she has to get married for certain reasons, and he kind of like goes along with it, but they've been friends in the past. So I was just so I just love seeing these characters all over again. I love seeing kind of like the ending and the conclusion and the happily ever after for everyone. Even a little bit of a side character that we see in the previous book. I thought that was cute that Laura put it in there. She did kind of like hint at the next series, which I cannot wait for. I love Laura Pavlov's writing. I love this series so much. This is my first like completed series that I read by Laura. Like, she has other ones, I've just never continued on with this series, but this is one that I've like been interested in every single one of the characters, and I think she hit it out of the park. And then I ended the month with When You Give a Lawyer a Kiss by Anne Ireson, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars as well. This one is also novella length, so it was like a completed story, and I thought it was adorable. I really liked the characters. I liked the whole workplace romance, how she was a paralegal working at his law firm that he owns. He's also like in secret a tattoo artist. He works at a tattoo shop on the weekends just because that's his passion, and he still wants to do it even though he doesn't need to. I like our heroine. I like how he like comes in and swoops our heroine off her feet and kind of like is like, I'm gonna take care of you, I'm gonna solve all your problems. That's just like a fantasy I love reading about. Like, yes, give me a billionaire to come and like take away all my money problems. Like, that would be fantastic. But I'm married, so Not gonna happen unless he becomes a billionaire. Anyway, I just had a good time with it and I thought it was adorable. And that was the last book I read. But I've been talking for so long, you guys. I've been talking for so long. Anyway, that is my October wrap up. If you've made it this far, leave me a pumpkin emoji in the comments down below because it's for October. But now spooky season is over and we're officially moving into fall. So November is going to be all this fall reads with a little bit of Christmas and holiday stuff at the end. So yeah, my November wrap up will be a mix of like holiday books with like normal other books. So leave me a pumpkin emoji in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.